Hi, my name is Julia Betts, and I'm doing my comic on Mrs. Marvel. Mrs. Marvel is a creation of, I guess you would say, the Marvel Comics. Anywho, Mrs. Marvel focuses on her family. Well, she's played by Camilla Khan, and she focuses on her family. Um, Her hometown and a growing pain of becoming super famous. She is an Avenger and she works alongside the Avengers when she is needed. While reading the story or reading the comic, I felt that the comic was a little rushed within the first 2 pages. Even bumpy. Even though Camilla has a strong voice, it's still bumpy. The pacing of this might have something to do with Camilla's mood. She's stressed, overstimulated, and sometimes even irritable. Um, Even though Camilla focuses on her family and her being a superhero, she also lets the reader know about secret wars and a nearing apocalypse. While on the other hand, her friends let the readers know what's been going on while Camilla's been gone, helping fighting the Avengers and trying to save the world. Camilla is, I would say, an average girl trying to find her way in this world. And doing that, she's being pulled in 3 different directions in this story. Um, I say the direction that the author or writer was trying to go was mixing a teen romance with a girl trying to come to terms with her image while also fighting, crime and keeping the neighborhood safe. Even though all of these are combined, an interesting thing about Mrs. Marvel is that she does have powers. I did not know this going into reading this comic, but her powers include the power to fly. Excuse me. She has enhanced strength, which can become handy while dealing with, the crazies of this world, of her world, my bad. She's durable, which means she does not break easily no matter how hard you try. I'm guessing you cannot break her. She has the ability to shoot energy balls out of her hands, which is, I think, the most awesome thing in the world. If I had superpowers, I would want to do one of that. To have energy balls coming out of my hand. And being able to fly. One thing I found weird about this comic was that it's like a series of comics all rolled into one. So it's kind of hard to tell where one story begins and the other one ends. It's kind of jumbled up into the different stories. She has a love interest in one volume. Another volume, she's just a high school student, which that volume is number 1. Second volume, she meets the Avengers and she becomes Mrs. Marvel. Then it goes on, but this is only about volume 1. And even in volume 1, it's hard to tell where one story ends and another story ends. So I don't necessarily think that there's the one fourth, one half, one fourth in this comic, but I could be wrong. I just didn't see it in the first volume. While reading this and looking up the background on Mrs. Marvel, I was surprised to find that the girl being portrayed in this version of Mrs. Marvel is a Muslim, which is really cool to have different ethnicities being portrayed as a superhero. Mrs. Marvel has a lot of story transitions. You can see it off the bat sometimes. Sometimes it just sneaks up on you. One of the transitions I saw was Camilla becoming a regular average child and thrown into this world of superheroes. That's an effective transition because she's thrown into a world where she know nothing about. She has to quickly think on her feet about situations. So I think that's an effective transition. There are some interesting things about Mrs. Marvel. In Mrs. Marvel, there seem to be two plot lines that are kind of growing apart. And one, there's a venomous real estate developer, and in the other plot, there's Bruno, Camilla's long-term interest. Mrs. Marvel has an enemy known as Moonstone. In the comics, is also known as Carla Softon. She first appeared as the gun mold of Dr. Farkas in Captain America number 192 of December 1975 by Marv Wolfman and Frank Robbins. In this picture, you see Moonstone holding up a limp, unconscious Mrs. Marvel. After reading the Marvel comic in about the last 10 pages of the first volume, the author is mainly focusing on Bruno's life while Camilla is away fighting. Bruno's narrative is the total opposite of Camilla's. Bruno has a more positive and comfortable vibe, and Camilla is more moody, stressed, overstimulated, irritable, because she is, after all, a superhero and a teen trying to balance her life. Um, Bruno always pulls ahead in more than one ways. Um, while looking at the graphics and the drawings, I gotta say that both of the authors who worked on the Marvel did okay with the facial expressions. Um, Alfonso handled Bruno's heavy part, um, while Misakawa handled Camilla's. So they each had like one person to handle each character. I really enjoyed reading this. I'm not the best speaker in front of a class and video. I just stumble up my words no matter how far up and ahead I plan. I just really do.